Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Solid Ground after this long Labour weekend. Look, I hope you had, a great weekend with family or friends, holidaying, relaxing, doing the chores at home, whatever you were doing. I just hope it was a great long weekend. Before I get into what Rachel and I did, which is not all that exciting, and in fact into some deeper issues, just welcome to everyone tuning in. I'll get to some of the first comments soon, but to our first time viewers, whether you are finding this on LinkedIn or Facebook or Substack, Twitter, wherever you are, welcome to Solid Ground. It's one of the Family First productions where we talk the politics, the cultural, the social dynamics of the day. And Bob and I bounce. Bob McCoskey, of course, the founder of... I'm just trying to find the right pick. There we go. They've changed the system. There was an update last night that I ran on this production platform. And so now there's new buttons and new names. I'm just working out where everything is. But yeah, Bob and I do these morning shows every morning at 7:30. As you can see, we alternate. We also do a Thursday evening show where we talk politics, New Zealand politics, and of course, the very popular Straight Talk on a Monday night. So there's no shortage of content. As the advertising before the start of the show was indicating. So look, welcome to Solid Ground. It's a chance to talk about whatever's on your mind too, because this is live. If you're on Facebook or on YouTube, in particular on the Family First pages, so if you're on my social media pages, welcome. It is lovely to have you along. I will see your comments after the show, but if you want them to come in live, jump onto Family First YouTube or Facebook and let me know about the topics we're discussing, or ask me a question about what's on your mind. If there's something happening that you're aware of, I'm happy to do my best to answer it. And as I say, it was a lovely Labour weekend. Rachel and I took it relatively easy, but as you might know, we've also moved home. So we've sold our big family home, and we've downsized substantially into a very little apartment, which we're loving. But as you can imagine, with any move, there's always that, homemaking, is it? Nesting, as Rachel would call it. So we've been busy just setting the place up slowly but surely. And of all things at the moment, trying to find where you source pavers and bricks. There's the great dilemma that we're facing at the moment with everything else going on in the world. But good morning to Harrison. Lovely to have you along. As I say, it's been since Thursday since I was on. So it is nice to be back. To Lynette there. To Catherine, good morning to you. Michael, always lovely to have you along. Mandy, good morning to you. And it does feel like it's been a while, I suppose partly because it has been. We've got Jackie there from Matihi. Lovely to have you along. So it's quite cloudy down there. Well, it's a bit the same here. We had quite the electrical storm about 2 o'clock last night. Very dramatic. Ian, good morning to you. And Trish, lovely to have you along. We've got Catherine there. So Catherine's encouraging people. There we go. I'm just going to press this little button, Catherine. There we go. She's following what Bob suggests. I better put that up. Which of course is to like and subscribe our content, so you get alerts of when we're coming on board. Darren, good morning to you. Lovely to have you along here. Good morning to DD. Good morning. We've got Chris there in the Hawke's Bay. Adrian, always lovely to have you along. Got Dennis here as well. Dennis Giannitos runs a podcast called Leadership is Changing. I've had him on my podcast, and I've even been on his. So yeah, check his out. DD says Los Angeles is... Now, I think that's possibly a joke coming from DD. That's where people pick up and throw pavers. I don't know. You can correct me on that, DD. And we've got 2 foo dogs. I still, after all these months... we're getting the advice coming in. Thank you, guys. And to Philippa, good morning. Lovely to have you along too. Look, guys, as always, there's no shortage of topics. So I will jump right in when I find it. It's screens everywhere. The first is, and these are more light-hearted, and I thought funny and good. The first was this. I know it's American politics, but I thought Kamala Harris was an absolute disaster. And so she's actually done an interview recently. I've forgotten which channel. It might be CBS. It doesn't really matter. But saying that she is strongly considering running for the presidency again. And I really should have posted on socials, just simply, please do. This woman is an absolute train wreck of a candidate. Not because she's a woman, not even because she's a Democrat per se. It's because she's completely inarticulate and unable to get her point across. So she's now blaming Biden, she's blaming everybody else, except herself. But I just thought it was very, very funny. I mean, it's up to the Americans to decide who they choose and vote for. And this is just a satirical take by Babylon Bee, if any of you follow the Babylon Bee. So it is just quite funny in this case that the Republicans are donating money. And look, jokes and satire aside, if she runs again, the Democrats are completely doomed. And in fact, if you're following a bit of American politics, you'll realise that by and large, most of the Democrats still haven't understood why they lost. And the fundamental reason is that what they're saying does not resonate with the American people. It really is as simple as that. It's easy for me to sit here and say that, but you know what you need to... Oh, let's go. Where's these little buttons? Oh, that is interesting. Oh, I see what's going on. There we go. So I'm pressing buttons in all different directions. Still getting used to say little changes in these systems when they do these updates. But yeah, when the Democrats backing someone like Kamala Harris again, you've got Mandami, a communist Islamic figure in New York. Very strange fella he is. AOC and others who are running around screaming and yelling that every American is racist and that capitalism is bad. You can't help but wonder why they're going to keep failing. But no, kudos to her if she wants to make a run for it. I see what I'm doing. I can see what I'm doing wrong. Anyway, good on her. On more positive news, I just thought this was nice to see. So Time will have been doing its most influential and rising personalities. And that's around Erica Kirk. I'm still amazed at her strength of character, to be honest, who, as the Time magazine itself points out, to stand in front of tens of thousands of people and talk about her husband and to talk about her faith. And so I just think it's a positive. And this is sort of a continuing element of the evangelization, really. Not only was there the memorial service for Charlie Kirk, but at the same time, the fact that she just continues to speak out and publicly. And here in Time magazine, which I must say I feel as a magazine has declined terribly. I used to read it when I was young in my teenage years and into my 20s. I thought it was actually quite good. Now I think it's not worth the paper it's printed on. But the fact that they've highlighted her and her Christian faith, and the fact that she forgave the killer, I think is quite something. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. Those are good news stories, because you can always have a bit too many of the negative. Harrison saying he would like Ben Carson to run. Ben is amazing. I've actually had the good pleasure of meeting him. He was in Parliament a few years ago, and importantly, he was part of the Family First Forum. I can't recall what year, but I'm sure if you search the Family First website, Harrison or anyone else, you'll find the video of Ben Carson. He's very, very impressive. And I've forgotten the title of his book, which is very typical me, something about hands, because I know Rachel is, and my wife's been a great fan of it. Others are now joking, of course, around Kamala that it means Trump will romp home. I see the media actually trying to beat up on him at the moment around running for a third term, even though he says he's not. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be Vance. And at this stage, you'd imagine that not only will he be the candidate, but he'll win. Hey, look, turning back to New Zealand, I just thought a couple of things caught my eye. This was one here. Got to have my cup of coffee. So this is both a positive and a querying story. So it's around organ donation, and you guys, if you've followed me for a while, know that I've always had a few questions around organ donation. Not altruistic donation, but donations from people who are dying. And this is sadly what this story is about, because first and foremost, Craig, who's there on what's on my left, probably on your right, he's had an organ donation of a kidney, I think from his sister. But now that's failing and he needs another one. So for him, this is a very difficult situation. I don't know him. I certainly understand why this has been reported on. But aside from obviously his needs, which many of us could relate to, as you read on in the story, and it's why I wanted to touch on it, is this expectation or push that people should, particularly if they're dying, have their organs harvested. And I use that terminology very deliberately, because one of the things you need to understand about organ donation, as good as it's often portrayed, And it is a good thing if people decide it. So like if you have 2 kidneys and you donate one, that's amazing. But by and large, people don't seem to understand around organ donation, and particularly in this story where it's talking about people in the emergency department or in intensive care, is that you can't be fully dead when they harvest your organs. So you heard me right, you can't be fully dead. They want you brain dead. Or as this article says, well look, if you're in an intensive care unit and on a ventilator, and this is I think it's the Ministry of Health, or perhaps it's just Health New Zealand, are saying, look, we want new protocols. We want permission, legal permission, to basically take people off ventilators, to declare them brain dead, so we can harvest their organs for others. And as uncomfortable as that might be for people at this time in the morning, that's always raised a red flag for me. I'm a supporter of organ donation. I think the more we can do altruistically is good. But I am very nervous when health officials and other policy advisors start saying that we need to stretch the gap between life and death to say, well, actually, yes, you are still physically alive, or you are brain dead, or yes, you're living via the assistance of a ventilator, but we have decided to let you go so that your organs can be used for someone else. That's never, in my mind, ethically justified. No person is a means to another's end. And we also know, because of some research, that Organ Donation New Zealand has been working, not with any political permission, but to work on protocols around euthanasia deaths. In other words, taking people's organs immediately after they euthanize themselves. And it doesn't take a rocket science to realize what sort of perverse incentives that will create for some people to say, well, look, I will seek euthanasia in order to supposedly, humbly, give their organs away, which probably comes with complications if you know anything about the drugs which are used, that pollute the organs of the body, is what I'm trying to get at. The other is the not-so-subtle coercive pressure which could develop at times. So look, it's probably, say, a particular, I feel sorry for Jeff. Obviously a very, very difficult situation. I don't know him, I want to stress that. There's always a pastoral side when you are talking about people's life and death, and it must be very miserable. I haven't had any issues so far with kidneys or dialysis. But again, if we're going to be changing the laws which this article is pushing for, or the officials are, it's dangerous, because all of a sudden that human being on a ventilator, that human being who is brain dead, is no longer being seen by New Zealand law or the medical profession as a human being. They're being seen as a supermarket for their organs. And that's exceptionally, exceptionally dangerous. In my humble opinion, Gillian has helped me out here. Ben Carson's book is called Gifted Hands. Thank you, Gillian. I knew someone would. Harrison was onto it as well. Yeah, very good book. I just... Oh, yes, I can't display all of the comment, but Catherine's saying that she's been disturbed by conversations she's heard where doctors are encouraging people not to be resuscitated. And look, that's part of the problem that we are seeing developing, and it's driven by money. Of course, if someone's dead, you have to keep providing them expensive health care. For others, okay, well, if they're not being resuscitated at the moment that they are dying, again, they're not dead, the moment they are dying, their organs are harvested. So there's these perverse incentives in play. But even if we step back from those, if you will, practical considerations, it's a moral change. It's a moral change where people are being seen as objects. And Grant has just put in a question here about property tax by Labour. Yes, well, so what he's referencing, and I only picked up on it this morning, Labour has come out announcing its capital gains tax. And it's trying again. So if you tune in on Thursday night on Political Playback, Bob and I will undoubtedly talk about this at length, partly, Grant, because I need to get my head around things. But it's the capital gains tax that Labour's had in the past, but what they seem to be doing is taking with one hand and then trying to disguise it by giving with the other. So this time the pitch appears to be, as I say, I only picked up the paper briefly this morning, is, hey, look, we're going to fund healthcare for everybody, sort of like a Medicaid card. So what Labour's going to try and do is say to everyone, hey, look at what you're going to get, all this amazing healthcare, supposedly. and hope that you will forget that they're going to be taxing now your properties. Now, there's lots of exemptions, like if you own, I think it's business properties and so forth. So, we'll talk about it more on Thursday, but like every system, the more exceptions you make, the more complicated it becomes. It's a bit like the argument, actually, guys, around GST. Some people say we should exempt fruit and vegetables from GST. I'm actually more of a purist, which says if you're going to have it, you have it on everything. Yes, it costs us more. I'm not particularly keen to give 15% away. But the moment you add exceptions, it all becomes very, administratively difficult and complicated. Minty has absolutely nailed it, far better than, quite seriously, thank you, Minty. It's another Robin Hood moment. Or they deem it to be. I would say it's almost a reverse or an equal Robin Hood. So it's not simply taking from the rich to give to the poor. Everyone will pay something like a capital gains tax, but I think it's quite astute, really. It's giving with one hand, taking with the other, robbing Peter to pay Paul, whatever you want to have. Jackie's asking if you are a donor on your license. So the short answer is yes. If you have said you want to be a donor on your driver's license, it gives the doctors in the emergency department or intensive care permission to turn off the support. Now, not early on. I mean, it's not literally you come in with a stubbed toe. It is the serious end. But if you're like me, which is one of the reasons I'm not an organ donor, is actually if I'm in a serious situation, I want the medical staff to do all they can, or at least all they can for the sake of my family. I'm not so beholden to this life. I don't need all and every extraordinary measure, but I want them pondering how they can, if you will, fix me, heal me. Not going, oh, well, actually, his heart's pretty good and his liver and his eyes, let's just end it here. I think those are the wrong mindsets for the doctors to have, and it's also one of the reasons in reciprocation that I don't expect organ donations myself. Simple as that, really. Anyway. I was also struck by this, and I hope you can read it. This is a slightly more nuanced and political set of points. This was an article in the newspaper on the weekend, and it was around neuroscience and tikanga. And I ummed and ahed about putting this up here, but I thought I would because I think it's a dangerous set of dynamics that are settling in and being facilitated by our mainstream media, which is unhelpful. And so in this case, it's around science and tikanga, or particularly Mataranga Māori. And then it's the wider race-based statements, which probably got my goat most of the time. So look, there's a documentary series exploring neuroscience and Mataranga Māori and tikanga towards raising children, which in and of themselves is absolutely fine. There's all sorts of different models. But what struck me in the article was twofold. The first was conflating Mataranga Māori with science. And if you've heard me talk before, the two are not compatible. Okay, there's some crossover, but they're different. Maybe it's not so much about compatibility, but they're different. But all through this article, and in many ways the article's been written to try and conflate the two, to say that Mataranga Māori, so a series of unproven stories and laws and experiences, is the same as neuroscience. I don't really have any time for that. Science is science. That's it. Just is. I mean, I'm not going to start reading Greek myths and saying that they're scientific. They're different. There's crossover, of course. We can learn and observe from various indigenous groups. Doesn't matter if it's Māori, Polynesian, Irish, Russian. It doesn't matter. We cross over, but science is science, and we have a very dangerous move here at the moment to try and conflate the two of them. You may remember the Met Service a little while back, and they still actually have them up on their social media, talking about the weather storms that we are having, all to do with the gods, with a small g, which of course tells young people that you don't need to study science or do anything because it's all in the hands of the gods. I mean, a terribly pagan, outdated, and pretty much stupid mindset. But that's the first point. Don't conflate the likes of Mataranga Māori with science. The second was all through the article are suggestions that trying to love and care for your child is a tikanga Māori situation. I really want to push back on that because I don't know any culture that doesn't look to care for its child or its children with care and respect and so forth. I remember years ago having an argument, in the best sense of that word, with a government minister in this very same space, because they were trying to put out a government report which again was running into this line, which was just saying, in this case, Māori put the children at the centre of their relationships, which they do, and I think it's wonderful. But to say it in a way that is exclusionary of others is wrong, because as I said at the start, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know any culture that does not place children at the centre. I mean, I come from a blend of cultures, as does Rachel and our wider families. Children are the centre of the universe. Hospitality to strangers is very much normal. But we do seem to have in New Zealand mainstream media an attempt to not only conflate, as we're saying, various knowledge systems with science, but we also seem to be wanting, or mainstream media is trying to promote one race or one culture over another. And I just don't think that's appropriate. I think we can talk and celebrate about all the good things in our cultures and also the bad things. No culture is perfect. So it's just a small series of points, but it just caught my eye and frustrated me that they would even go down. They go down in that way. Hey, I'm going to start finishing up, but just a reminder, if you have not already, this is now so out of date, it is not ridiculous. There's hundreds of thousands more views across all our platforms. Izzy and Zara are two remarkable people. I don't know if you've seen their video, but here's just a very quick preview. You really need to check these guys out.
I was on testosterone for 2 years. My voice dropped after about 6 months on testosterone. I developed facial hair. I gained muscle really quickly and I smelled different. I was more sweaty when I was on testosterone. I smelled more like a man. I found that on testosterone, my ability to compartmentalize, it was just easy. I felt like I was thinking in straight lines on testosterone and then thinking in squiggly lines going back. I changed emotionally as well. I found it very difficult to cry, and that when I was angry, I was very angry like nothing before. I couldn't cry when I was sad, but when I was sad, it was deep. It was a depression that was really hard to get out of.
So I know I ran these last week, but these are exceptional women, and even more to me to be sharing their stories. That was Zara. And yes, anyone who's a man or a boy like myself, and you'll know the men and boys in life quite right, stinky, smelly and sweaty. But you know, this is the stories of transition, which a lot of people don't hear. And then of course, there is Izzy's story.
It's almost too easy. So seeing the psychiatrist before starting the hormones, they just want to ensure that this is something you're really wanting to do, essentially, and you're not going to regret it or change your mind. They tell you side effects of the medication, like a breakdown of side effects, like the permanent deepening of the voice, how that is permanent, can't be changed or come back.
It's always one of the sad things, actually, I think, amongst others, that whole deepening of the voice, and so far as what it illustrates is the ability of these young people to actually make the decisions. To what extent can the young person, like an Izzy or a Zara, fully comprehend what that means? So when these charlatan doctors are saying to them, well, look, there are the side effects, a permanent deepening of your voice and a likely loss of fertility. Does the young person, can any of us actually fully conceptualize that? And I think the simple answer is no. But look, go and check out their videos. It's on our Family First YouTube channels. It's also obviously accessible through the website. Powerful stories. Speaking of stories, I said I've got to get a new podcast out this week, but the current one is with Marina Young, talking about the Buttons Project, where well over 20,000 women and men have remembered their babies, primarily aborted babies, by sending in a button. I sit down on RCR with my mate Bruce. We talk everything from ice raids to this Mandami guy, as I say, a communist running in New York and possibly might win. Remember, of course, Bob and I do Substacks, so you're always welcome to jump to substack.com. Look up Bob's name, look up my name, and you'll see what we're writing. And my recent one is on freedom of religion and how it is affected in New Zealand or elsewhere. And obviously we'll be back on Thursday morning, but mark your diaries for Thursday evening at 5 o'clock. We'll have political playback on. That's certainly where Bob and I will be talking, a bit like some of the topics that people have put in here around Labour's new capital gains tax. As we're going to air this morning, I see there's news of, looks like the Party Māori is going to expel the MP, I don't have her full name in front of me, but the Kapa Kingi. It all seems quite untidy and messy. Of course, Luxon's overseas at the moment on trade and diplomatic missions. We'll talk about whether that's a good or a bad thing. A hint from my side, I think it's a good thing. But there's going to be no shortage of topics, guys. But in the meantime, you have a wonderful Tuesday. I don't know about you, I'm already confused of what day of the week it is. But have a wonderful day. Bless you all, and I'll see you again on Thursday.